Mai anō, welcome back to our reading of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and we've got up to the part at the end of chapter 14 part 1 where Lucy and Susan have followed Aslan. They can see that he looks really sad, and he's told them that they need to stop here at the top of the hill and amongst some bushes, and he will go on alone. But they've stopped and they're watching what's happening. A great crowd of people were standing all around the stone table, and though the moon was shining, many of them carried torches which burned with evil-looking red flames and black smoke. But such people, ogres with monstrous teeth, and wolves and bull-headed men, spirits of evil trees and poisonous plants, and other creatures whom I won't describe, because if I did, the grown-ups would probably not let you read this book. Crawls and hags and incubuses, wraiths, horrors, sprites, orkneys, woosers and etons. In fact, here were all those who were on the witch's side and whom the wolf had summoned at her command. And right in the middle, standing by the table, was the witch herself. A howl and a gibber of dismay went up from the creatures when they first saw the great lion pacing towards them. And for a moment even the witch seemed to be struck with fear. Then she recovered herself and gave a wild, fierce laugh. "Ha, ha, ha! The fool!" she cried. "The fool has come! Bind him fast!" Lucy and Susan held their breaths, waiting for Aslan's roar and his spring upon his enemies. But it never came. 4 hags, grinning and leering, yet also, at first, hanging back, and half afraid of what they had to do, had approached him. "Bind him, I say," repeated the White Witch. The hags made a dart at him, and shrieked with triumph when they found that he made no resistance at all. Then others, evil dwarves and apes, rushed in to help them, and between them they rolled the huge lion over to his back, and tied all his 4 paws together, shouting and cheering as if they had done something brave, though, had the lion chosen, one of those paws could have been the death of them all. But he made no noise, even when the enemy, straining and tugging, pulled the cords so tight that they cut into his flesh. Then they began to drag him towards the stone table. "Stop," said the witch. "Let him first be shaved." Another roar of mean laughter went up from the followers as an ogre with a pair of shears came forward and squatted down by Aslan's head. Snip, snip, snip went the shears, and masses of curling gold began to fall to the ground. Then the ogre stood back, and the children watching from their hiding place could see the face of Aslan, looking all small and different without its mane. The enemies also saw the difference. "Why, he's only a great cat, after all," cried one. "Is that what we were afraid of?" cried another. And they surged round Aslan, jeering at him, saying things like, "Puss, puss, poor pussy," and "How many mice have you caught today, cat?" and "Would you like a saucer of milk, pussums?" "Oh, how can they?" said Lucy, tears streaming down her cheeks. "The brutes, the brutes!" For now that the first shock was over, the shorn face of Aslan looked to her braver and more beautiful and more patient than ever. "Muzzle him," said the witch. And even now, as they worked about his face, putting on the muzzle, one bite from his jaws would have cost 2 or 3 of them their hands. But he never moved. And this seemed to enrage all that rabble. Everyone was at him now. Those who had been afraid to come near him, even after he was bound, began to find their courage, and for a few moments the girls could not even see him. So thickly was he surrounded by the whole crowd of creatures, kicking him, hitting him, spitting on him, and jeering at him. At last the rabble had had enough of this. They began to drag the bound and muzzled lion to the stone table, some pulling and some pushing. He was so huge that even when they got him there, it took all of their efforts to hoist him onto the surface of it. Then there was more tying and tightening of cords. Oh, the cowards, sobbed Susan. Are they still afraid of him, even now? When once Aslan had been tied, and tied that so he was really a mass of cords on the flat stone, a hush fell on the crowd. 4 hags holding 4 torches stood at the corners of the table. The witch bared her arms as she had bared them the previous night when it had been Edmund instead of Aslan, and then she began to whet her knife. It looked to the children, when the gleam of the torchlight fell on it, as if the light were made of stone, as if the knife were made of stone, not of steel, and it was a strange and evil shape. At last she drew near. She stood by Aslan's head. Her face was working and twitching with passion, but his looked up at the sky, still quiet, neither afraid nor angry, but a little sad. And then, just before she gave the blow, she stooped down and said in a quivering voice, "And now, who has won? Fool, did you think that by all this you would save the human traitor?" And there's a picture of them all around Aslan being terribly unkind to him. "Now I will kill you instead of him, as our pact was, and so the deep magic will be appeased. But when you are dead, what will prevent me from killing him as well? And who will take him out of my hand then? Understand that you have given me Narnia forever. You have lost your own life, and you have not saved his. In that knowledge, despair and die." The children did not see the actual moment of the killing. They couldn't bear to look, and had covered their eyes.